Okay, we're going to do pickled beet. Came out a little while ago and pulled all the Cylindra type because I can cut them all in similar lengths. These other ones here that are kind of sunburned are the big round ones. I'll pull one up. That's what they look like. Pretty good sized beet. But I won't be doing these tonight. I'll show you what they look like compared to the other ones inside in just a second. I usually just take a hose to it outside and get the excess soil off of it, and then you just can take it in and leave most of the gunk outside. Also take off all of the leaf except for about 2.5 inches off of the bulb, and then you leave the taproot because otherwise they bleed too much when you cook them. And here you can see the two different types of beet. This is the one I just pulled outside, and these are the Cylindra beets, which I picked earlier. You can slice them evenly. They're more uniform. These you generally cube, a little bit more work, but they get bigger. The other thing you want to do when you're getting ready is you want to get all your stuff together that you're going to be using. I get the spices out, the cinnamon sticks, the allspice, the cloves, the vinegar, and the sugar, and get all that ready to go. Another thing that you'll need to do is get yourself a bunch of jars ready. This is where having a dishwasher comes in handy. You need to wash them in hot soap and water and then sterilize them, and you can do that all at once in a dishwasher. I don't have one, so I do it all by hand, and then I'll keep them hot in some boiling water until just before I pack them with the beets and the vinegar syrup. Here's the ones that I brought in before. I sort them by size because when you cook them, you don't want to be fishing the smaller ones out because they're going to get done quicker. Because if you look in here, it'd be really hard to see in that deep red murk, which ones are where. So I just split them out. Okay, the first batch of cooked beets have just been lifted out, and I'm refilling the pot with a little bit of water here so I can put in the next batch. That's probably enough. These are going to have to cool so that you peel the skin off. They're hotter than the devil right now, but that just peels right off like that. Pretty easy to do. And then the tails will just pinch off, and then the stem that's on there will pinch off. They're pretty easy to clean. It's just too hot to do them right at this. I'm going to finish slicing the beets. I've got about probably 1.5 gallons of beets total that are going to slice them into uniform sizes, and add about 3 large chopped onion, actually sliced onion, and it's going to go in the syrup over here on the stove that as soon as it gets boiling. The syrup consists of 3 cups of sugar, 5¼ cups of vinegar, and a couple cups of water, 3 teaspoons of salt, and then I'll be throwing in some spices, which consist of 3 pretty good sized cinnamon sticks, and then a couple teaspoons each of allspice and nutmeg. And we'll let it simmer all together for about 15 minutes, and then we'll pack it into the hot jars, which I gotta sterilize. Gotta get some water boiling for that. All the beets chopped, and they're all in this syrup, and they're going to be brought up to a simmer here. I've got my jars sterilizing over in this pot here. This is going to be what I can, and this is one of those boiling water bath canners. But they're covered completely with simmering water right now. I'll just take them out, dump them out, and then fill them with the beets, and then put them back in there to process after I get the lids on them. Okay, the jars have been sterilized, and so has all the other equipment here. Has been put into the boiling water for about 5 minutes. The jars were in there probably for about 20 because we had to wait for this stuff to get its simmer on, and it had to simmer for 15 minutes and it's ready. The little lids are still sitting in the bottom of the boiling water. I'll pull them out as soon as I get the jars filled. Okay, it's a messy job, but these are ladled full and I've got the lids on all but one. I had to throw some more jars in the pot to sterilize because I still have some more to fill up. So I'll get the lid on this, and then I'll put rings on these to hold the lids down and then set them aside until I can get them in the pot to be processed for 30 minutes each. The first batch is in there. The water's about 2 inches above the top of the lid, and it's just starting to boil. You don't want the jars touching at all, so you need to put them in there. They've got little places to sit in that little rack. It works pretty good. So now we just got to wait half an hour, and then we can take them out. Okay, these will be ready to come out in just a little bit. It's boiling nicely. Got about 6 more minutes to go. And I went ahead and filled the rest of the jars and got the lids on them, and they're ready to go in as soon as the ones over here come out. I was just going to show you that you need to remember to take your spices out. This is the little bag of allspice and cloves that was in there. So I'll just pull it out. You could probably use it again, I guess, but you'd have to refrigerate it or something if you're going to use it in the next couple days for another batch. But anyway, this is almost done here, and we'll see it after it's all cooled. Probably also point out this is a really messy job, and beets stain your fingernails and your hands really badly. You could probably wear those little thin gloves and do it, but I prefer to be able to feel what I'm doing, and then I just wash up with hydrogen peroxide when I'm done. That usually gets rid of the staining. Anyway, still working. This is sat overnight. They've cooled. I've started taking off the rings from the lids. The rings are just to hold the lids down while you're doing the canning, and once they cool and the lids have sealed, you can take those right off of there and just store them with the little lids. These have a pop-up center in them so that you can tell if it's sealed. The pop-up pulls down when you actually get your vacuum. I did have a failure here on this one. Apparently some stuff was on the lid that I didn't get wiped off completely, and so it didn't seal. So we'll just put this in the fridge and use it first. Let's see, these, you just take them off. You know, it's a nice good seal on that. Then you wash down the jar and put it in storage. This was from, probably about 19 foot a row. I've got 14.5 pints out of 19 foot of row. So be thinking about that when you're planting your garden. How much will you use of something, how much you want to put away, and plan accordingly. I reuse all my jars and all my rings. The rings tend to get rusty over time, but it doesn't really matter as long as you can still turn them to get them off the jar. That's another reason you don't want to leave them on the jar, because the jar will be damp and it causes more rust, and then your rings will not come off and you won't be able to get into your jar without breaking it, and that's not any good. I buy used jars, usually at garage sales, 25 cents a box usually you can find them for. These really aren't canning jars except for a couple of them. The wide mouth ones here are, these are true canning jars. You could use those in a pressure canner. But these others are probably like little mayonnaise jars or something that somebody had saved. And you can use them in a water bath canner, but do not use them in a pressure canner. They might break on you and just ruin your batch. Anyway, that is the canning at 14.5 pints from 19 foot a row.